I think Uncle Uchok and Auntie Faye were watching us all the way to the end and even afterwards, and even extra. But now we will continue with, let me see here. With Daniel 1. All right. We'll continue with Daniel 1, and let's see. You remember what the story was like? Daniel was being taken at the time of which king? Jehoiakim, right? And Daniel, it does not say specifically, but we know that Daniel and the 4 boys became eunuchs in Babylon because of the prediction of the prophecy that was given by who? Who gave the prophecy that the sons of a king? No, Isaiah. Isaiah gave a prophecy, right? To which king? Which king was it that? No, it's not Manasseh. Hezekiah, the father of Manasseh. Because Hezekiah, he had shown all his riches, remember? He showed all his riches. And also there's another prophet that gave a prophecy specifically about Jehoiakim and the boys. Is Moses. Moses gave a prophecy. Where is that prophecy? It's one of the 2520s, the second of the 2520. And that second of the 2520 is that if you do not obey me, I will send you herds of beasts which will attack and rob you of your children, remember? All right. That's the 2520. So that's a prophecy for what's going to happen to Daniel and Sadrach, Mesach, and Abednego at the time of Jehoiakim. And remember, we also did, let's see, we also did what happened? The king commanded, the king appointed that they drink and eat of the king's table, right? And made provision for them. And Daniel and his friends purposed in their heart that they were not going to defile themselves with the food of the king. All right. Okay. I think that's where we ended. Right? All right. Let's go. We are right here now. We back up a little bit. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, right? Because he purposed in his heart that he was not going to eat Babylonian food and drink. What was the effect of that on the prince of the eunuchs, which is Ashpenaz? What was the effect of that? He became afraid. All right. Yeah. So what does that mean spiritually? When you eat the little book, and what happens when you eat the little book? According to Jeremiah 15:16, you will go into a covenant, enter into covenant. And when you enter into covenant, your name is going to be changed, right? And that will cause a fear of other people. Remember how Daniel in Daniel 10, he had the Mara vision, and there's people around him that had to run away, right? They feared. So that is going to be the experience of God's people in the end time too. So he purposed in his heart that he would pass this first test. And this first test is the test of what? What is his first test? Appetite. Yeah, appetite. His appetite purpose. Oh, okay, we have something new here. We have go. All right, there you go. He purposed in his heart. We now have a cursor. He purposed in his heart that he would pass the test of appetite. And that produces a fear in Melzar, I guess, the prince of the eunuchs. All right. So the Millerites eat the little book, and the remnant will eat the little book also. That's just like Daniel eating pulse and drinking water, right? Okay. And Daniel said to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, and Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee. How many days?
10 days.
You have to be proven 10 days. Now remember, they were to serve in the king, to be taught the language and the customs of the Babylonians for how many years? 3 years. And they are to drink and eat the food for 3 years. All right. But they refused to eat and drink the food. But I guess, well, it's obvious they consented to be taught for 3 years, but they did not want to eat and drink the food. Right? But they said, okay, well, prove us for 10 days. Right? So prove us for then 10 days. So the 10 days, where is this 10 days then? This 10 days must be a contiguous, so 10 days and then 3 years, or you think it's the beginning of the 3 years? It's got to be the beginning of the 3 years, right? Right. So they said, okay, you're gonna go to school for 3 years. And then they said, well, in the first 10 days, prove us that we are going to be better than any of the others if we eat vegetable and drink water. Right. So that's there. So what happened? Then let our countenance be looked upon. What does it mean to be looked upon? Yeah. You are to be looked upon. So it's a visual test. So test us. Look at us and compare us with the others, right? So that's how you are being tested. Because you go to a test and you are being compared with other students, right? Compare with the other children at the end of 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, what happened to them? They are different because they have been separated. So Daniel is like the wise, and the other children were the foolish. So at the 10 days, there is a separation, right? They're separated because these look like they've been, right? So that where would you put this in the timeline then? First, they have their test of their food, and then they're separated. Right. Where are we then? All right. The midnight cry or midnight? Yeah. Right. Yeah, right. Because so you're really at midnight. What happens at midnight? Right. Then you find out you either have oil or you don't have oil. Right? So that's the 10 days. So the 10 days is the hiding. Right? The beginning of the test is 9/11. Right? So at midnight, then you either have oil, then you are fatter and more fairer than the rest. Correct? Yeah, right. At the end of the 10 days, they are fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children that did eat the portion of the king's meat. Right? Okay. And because of that, Daniel had understanding in visions and dreams. Because of that, they received the restoration of the spirit of prophecy, the spirits to them, right? When are they restored? After they're being bound. Remember, Daniel was bound in Revelation 10, and he was able to see the vision of what is going to happen, right? He was given the spirit of prophecy. So he is understanding visions and dreams. So that's at the midnight cry. So between midnight and midnight cry, that's when that's their binding time. That's when they're being tested, right? But when you are being tested, are you already good? Or are you getting good? Or you have to be good already? Right. So when are you learning to be good is beforehand. When you're studying, you're learning to be perfect. You're learning to be good, right? Yeah. You can't suddenly understand your subject that you're studying at the time of the test, right? You understand it way before, right? Right. So that the 10-day test ends with the separation between the wise and the foolish, which is midnight, and the restoration of the prophetic gift to the wise is at the midnight cry, right? Now you understand that? Okay. All right, so Daniel 1 here is really the summary of the three angels' message. Okay, now we continue. Now, at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. Now, at the end of the days, the king said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. What is the end of the days? Is it after the 10 days or the 3 years? Yeah, this is after the what? 3 years. What is at the end of the 3 years? Jill, what's the end of the 3 years? What happens at the end of the days? The test. What did the king do? The king communed with them, and among them all was found, so he tested them. He tested the 4 boys and he compared it to the others. And what did he find? They were wisdom and understanding. The king found that they were 10 times better, right? So that's the test. This is after the 3 years. No, this is when the king came, right? Because the 10 days is when Melzar tested, said, okay, you're going to eat. Right. No, you gotta know this. This is actually very important, because at the end of the 10 days, you're gonna be found that after you have been eating your diet, Melzar says, well, you know what? You can continue to eat your diet. I'm not gonna give you meat and wine. You can continue your diet.
3 years.
And at the end of the days, so what is the end of the days? The close of your probation, right? So that's the close of your probation. You get it? The close of your probation, you are found 10 times better. Okay, so here you go. That's the 10 days, right? This is the beginning of the test, right? Then Daniel purposed himself right in the beginning right there. And he says, okay, test us for 10 days. Prove us for 10 days. Melzar, prove us for 10 days. Give us vegetables. And at the 10 days, what happened? They are fairer and fatter. Okay, and then Melzar says, okay, well, in that case, you are going to continue to eat your vegetables, your pulse, and drink water. And at the end of 3 years, which is the end of the days, the king tests them. And they are found to be 10 times better. So this is basically the story of Daniel 1. The story of Daniel 1 is the story of the priests between what? Right here is what? 9/11 to the midnight cry. So from here to here is 9/11 to midnight. And then here's the midnight cry. From here to here is the midnight cry, and this is the binding off period, which is the when they are receiving the Mare vision and the Mara vision, and they have the full understanding of vision. So that's basically this at the end, right? Now this is a little different for the Levites, because the Levites, when is their when is their close of probation for the Levites? At the Sunday law, right? Their close of probation of Sunday law. Remember the priests, their close of probation is the midnight cry. What about the 11th hour workers? When is the close of their probation? When Michael stands up at the close of probation. Now here is another concept that we're going to study now, is the concept of the Nethinims. Have you heard of the Nethinims? Yeah. Well, you read about the Nethinims, right? But we really did not go and study it. We were just concerned about studying the general picture, but we did not get into the details of who the Nethinims are. Okay? All right, we're going to study the Nethinims now. Go to the Nethinims. When you go into your eSword, you look up Nethinim. It's mentioned 18 times. Now, the Revised Version, it doesn't say Nethinims. It says Nethinim. Yeah, without the S. Oh, now it's first mentioned in 1 Chronicles 9. So all Israel were reckoned by genealogies, and behold, there were written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah, who were carried away to Babylon for their transgression. Now the first inhabitants that came back, that dwell in their possession in their cities, were those who came back. Who came back with Ezra, right? Well, with Zerubbabel. Yeah. With Zerubbabel and Ezra, yeah, and Nehemiah, yeah. But who were they that came back? The Israelites, the priests, Levites, and the Nethinims. Who are the Nethinims? Well, they're not the Israelites. Are the Nethinims priests and Levites? No, they're not. So they're another group. Who are they? Nethinims. Yeah. Okay, well, yeah. Ezra 2, verse 1, 43, 48, and 70. Now, this is those who came back with Ezra. Now, these are the children of the province that went up out of captivity. See, they came out of Babylon. Of those which had been carried away, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away into Babylon, and came upon unto Jerusalem and Judah, everyone into his city. So they went back into his own city. The Nethinims, the children of Ziha, Hasufa, Tabaoth, all the Nethinims and the children of Solomon's servants were 392. That's verse 58 and verse 70. All right. So the priests and the Levites and some of the people and the singers and the porters and the Nethinims dwelt in their cities, and all Israel in their cities. So are the Nethinims the Israelites? They're not Israelites. Right? If they're not Israelites, well, what are they then? What are they? They're Gentiles. If they're not Israelites, they're Gentiles, right? Yeah. But they went to Babylon with the Israelites, and they came out of Babylon also, and they dwelled in different places, not with the Israelites, right? But they were also right. They were Solomon's servants. They dwelled in the cities with priests, Levites, singers, and porters, right? But they did not dwell with the Israelites in the Israelites' cities. So who are the Nethinims then? Ezra 7. Now this is very important. We know this because we studied Ezra 7:9, right? Remember Ezra 7:9? What happened? Just give a brief summary. Ezra came out of Babylon on the what day? First day of the first month. And then what happened? He arrived in Jerusalem on the first day of the fifth month. All right? It takes 4 months to walk. Right? first day of the first month, and he arrived on the first day of the fifth month. Right. And there went up some of the children of Israel, and of the priests and Levites, and the singers and porters and Nethinims, unto Jerusalem. Right. They went to Jerusalem in the 7th year of the Artaxerxes the king. So this is what year? 457 BC. And he came to Jerusalem in the 5th month, which was in the 7th year of the king. For upon the first day of the first month began he to go up from Babylon. So Ezra came out of Babylon on the first day of the first month. And on the first day of the 5th month came he to Jerusalem, according to the good hand of his God upon him. Also we certify you that touching any of the priests and Levites, singers, porters, Nethinims, or ministers of this house of God, it shall not be lawful to impose toll, tribute, or custom upon them. So Nethinims is grouped together with the priests, the Levites, the singers, and the porters, who are what? They ministers unto the house of God, and you cannot impose toll, tribute, custom upon them. So they have a very special role, right? That's exempt. So are the Nethinims. They are the temple slaves who are assigned to the Levites and priests for service in the sanctuary. They're the temple servants, right? They're the temple servants. They're not Israelites. They are Gentiles. Yeah. All right. Ezra 8. Now we're going to read every single Bible verse that mentions Nethinim.
But Ezra's the only one.
Yeah, Ezra and Nehemiah. And I gathered them together to the river that runneth to Ahava. Remember, he came out on the first day of the first month, right? And he stopped at the river Ahava, just outside of Babylon. And there abode we in tents how many days?
3 days.
So what did he do there? What did he do in the tent for 3 days? He tarried. The tarrying time. He waited for 3 days after the first day of the first month. And he looked and wait a minute, there's not enough sons of Levi. There's none of the sons of Levi. So what he did ask them, okay, and he sent Eliezer and for Shemaiah, for Elnathan, Jarib, Elnathan, he said, call the Levites out of Babylon. And then I sent them with commandment unto Iddo and chief of the place Casiphia, and told them what they should say unto Iddo and to his brethren the Nethinims at the place of Casiphia, that they should bring unto us ministers of the house of our God. So the Nethinims and the Levites are ministers for the house of God, remember? Right, yeah. They were actually used. You'll see that later. Yeah, they eventually became absorbed.
Yeah, that's
right. They became absorbed into the culture of the culture of the Israelites. But they're not Israelites. Their job is different. Their job is actually the temple ministers, servants and ministers. Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. So now Ezra came out on the first day of the first month. What does he represent? Does he represent the priest or the Levites or the Nethinims? He's a priest. He came out on 9/11. Right? First day of the first month. He came out 9/11. And he waited for 3 days, the tarrying time. And after 3 days, then he called out his brethren. And who came out? Who came out? Who came out? The Levites and the Nethinims. So when he waited so at the midnight cry, he called out, and the Levites and the Nethinims came out. Right. Okay. All right. So who are the Nethinims, right? Yeah. And then they walked until they got to Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is the first day of the 5th month. And that's the midnight cry. So at midnight they called out, and so at midnight there came out Levites and Nethinims. All right. Okay. Ellen White only mentioned Nethinim once, and here it is in Prophets and Kings. While the travelers tarried, remember tarried, the tarrying time. So that's after 9/11, right? After 9/11, they're tarrying for how many days? 3 days. And then who did they call out? Bring us ministers out of the house of our God. Who's the ministers? The Levites and the Nethinims. The appeal was heeded. Some who had been halting made final decision to return. In all, about 40 priests and 220 Nethinim, men upon whom Ezra would rely as wise ministers, good teachers, and helpers. So the priests were the wise ministers and good teachers, and these Nethinims are the helpers, right? Were brought to the camp. So remember, at midnight, Levites are going to come out, and Nethinim's going to come out, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be, now you have to figure out who the Nethinims are, right? Yeah. Well, we know they're Gentiles. Nehemiah 3, verse 6 to 7. Now, this does not say specifically that they are Nethinims. There's a story of the story of Nehemiah. Moreover, the old gate repaired Jehoiada, the son of Meshullam, Basiah, and Meshullam, the son of Besodiah, and they laid the beams thereof, and set up the doors thereof, and the locks thereof, and the bars thereof. So here, Nehemiah is building up the walls. Right? We'll go over those walls, and he built up those gates because they were all breached. Well, not all of them. Most of them were breached, so they had to be rebuilt. And who were actually rebuilding them? And next unto them repaired Melatiah the Gibeonite. So Gibeon is actually is a Gentile. It's the descendants of Gentiles. So the Gentiles were actually helping, the men of Gibeon were helping to build the wall. All right. So in Joshua 9, what happened? Joshua 9. If you can actually go there if you want to, but Joshua, here, let me see. Joshua had just destroyed Jericho and Ai, right? And suddenly there came out of the desert some people that dressed in old clothes, shoes, and had moldy dry bread, and they had rent bottles of wine, and they asked to be leagued with the Israelites because they were afraid that the Israelites were going to destroy them. So he says, okay, why don't you? And these are not Israelites. They were the Gibeonites. Yeah. They came out of Gibeon, and they were afraid. And so they pretended that they had been traveling for a long time, and they wanted to join. So against the counsel of God, without asking God, they made a league with the Gibeonites. The leaders of Israel made a league with the Gibeonites. So when they came unto Gibeon, they were going to fight the Gibeonites, and they says, well, these are Gibeonites too, but we can't kill them because we already made a promise. We already made a covenant with them. Well, God said, if you go to Canaan, you have to kill all those ites, the Perishites, the Hittites, even the Gibeonites. You have to kill them all. But what did they do? They actually made a covenant already with them. But God actually forgave them, and they were given they were allowed to stay, right? They were allowed to stay. Joshua 9. Now therefore ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be freed from being bondmen, and hewers wood and drawers of water for the house of my God. But you Gibeonites, you actually tricked us. We're supposed to kill you, but you tricked us. And we made against the counsel of our God. We did not even ask the counsel of our God, and we already made a covenant with you, so now we can't kill you. But now what are you going to be? You are going to be our bondmen. You are going to be slaves to us. You are going to be hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God. And they answered Joshua and said, because it was certainly told thy servants how that the Lord thy God commanded his servant Moses to give to you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Therefore we are sore afraid of our lives because of you, and have done this. And now, behold, we are in thine hand, as it seemed good and right unto thee to do unto us. Do. Go ahead, do whatever you want to do to us, but at least we're not gonna be dead. And so did he unto them, and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, that they slew them not. And Joshua made them what? That day, hewers of wood and drawers of water for the congregation and for the altar of the Lord. See, so the Gibeonites, they become servants, right? So from here he says, they're the Nethinims, even unto this day, in the place which he should choose, right? So they're ministers for the tabernacle, right? They serve the Levites and the priests, drawing water and hewing wood. Okay. Now, Ellen White had something to say about the Gibeonites. The Gibeonites were permitted to live, but were attached as bondmen to the sanctuary to perform all menial services, right? Joshua made them that day hewers of wood and drawers of water for the congregation and for the altar of the Lord. These conditions they gratefully accepted, conscious that they had been at fault and glad to purchase life on any terms. Behold, we are in thine hand, they said to Joshua, as it seemed good and right unto thee to do unto us. For centuries their descendants were connected with the service of the sanctuary. The Gibeonites are the Nethinims. While their submission to Jehovah secured the preservation of their lives, their deception brought them only disgrace and servitude. See what happened to them? The Gibeonites, they were giants. They're physically giants, but they're actually servants of the Israelites. Right. God had made provisions that all would renounce heathenism and connect themselves with Israel. See? Now they connect themselves with Israel. They renounce heathenism and should share the blessings. Now they're going to share the blessings of the covenant. They were included under the term, the stranger that sojourneth among you. And with few exceptions, this class were to enjoy equal favors and privileges with Israel. So who are the Nethinims? The 11th hour workers. That's the stick of Ephraim, right? There's going to come in. Edom, Moab, and Ammon. They are going to escape, right? Those are the Nethinims, right? Remember, they are going to serve the Levites. What happened with Ruth when they came back? Ruth went and worked and gathered and bring it to who? Naomi. Ruth is the what? Ruth is the Nethinim. And Naomi is the Nethinim, and Ruth is the Nethinim, and Naomi is the Levite. Right? They serve the Levite. And remember, the son of Ruth and the son of Ruth and Boaz is Obed. And Obed's name is actually means servant, right? Right, servant. So Ruth gives birth to Obed, who is a gift to Naomi. Nethinims gives their gift or offering to the service of the Levites and the priests. Right? So, what does this mean spiritually? We went through this, we see this many times because they are going to serve the priests and the Levites, right? Right. Last time we said, how are the Nethinims going to serve the priests and the Levites? And that's what we're really not sure. It has something to do that, are they going to be the martyrs? Are they going to be, because they're not going to be part of the 144,000. No. The part of the 144,000 are numbered, and numbered out of the priests and the Levites, right? Okay. Priests are Levites. Right. Well, yeah, when you say priests and Levites, you say the priests are the older Levites. But they are all Levites, right? All right. Okay. Nehemiah 7. These are the children of the province that went up out of the captivity of those that had been carried away, whom Nebuchadnezzar and the king of Babylon had carried away, and came again to Jerusalem and to Judah, everyone into a city. The Nethinims, children of Ziha, Haphusa, and Tabaoth, all the Nethinims, the children of Solomon's servants, were 392. So the priests and Levites, porters, singers, and some of the people, and the Nethinims, and all Israel, dwelled in their cities, when the 7th month came, and the children of Israel were in their cities. So the priests, Levites, and the Nethinims. So if the Nethinims serve the temple, they have to live in Jerusalem, right? They can't go to somewhere in Bethlehem or somewhere in Beersheba or they have to be right there. All right. So they have to stay in there near the temple because they became the servants of the temple. And those that are sealed were Nehemiah, Tereshata, Hakaliah, Zedekiah, and the rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, porters, singers, the Nethinims, and all that they had separated themselves from the people of lands unto the law of God, with their wives, sons, daughters, everyone having knowledge and having understanding. See? They also have knowledge and understanding, just like Daniel. So they will have the same privileges like Daniel, right? All right. Okay. So let's put this into the timeline. So here's the 10 days, right? Because from here to here it's like the 3 days that they were waiting in Ahava, right? This is the 10 days. The 10 days that they prove themselves. And so they purpose themselves right here, and over here they're found to be fatter and fairer, right? And at the end of the days, they found to be 10 times better, right? So this is the line for the priests, because the priests are called out at 9/11, right? Just like Ezra was called out at 9/11, right? But they eventually, their probation closes at the midnight cry, correct? Right? Yeah. So we have that. The priests, they returned to the old path by eating the little book right here, correct? And they recognize the 2 charts, right? That's their second test. And the third test is when they're being bound off, right? They have to have the Mara and the Mara vision, here. And they receive the gift of the spirits right here. Okay, so this is the line of the priest. What about the Levites? When were the Levites called out? According to Ezra 7:9. According to Ezra 7 and Ezra 8. Were they called out in the first day of the first month? No, they were, because Ezra had to wait for how many days? 3 days. So prophetically, this is the 3 days right here. Because this is the the tarrying time, right? So they came out at the midnight. So their 10 days is right here. The Levites, remember, they will have they are being tested right here. And they also have to eat the little book, obviously, right? Yeah, they have to return to the old path, right? Okay, now I'm going to ask you to read Isaiah 52, verse 1 to 6. I didn't have it up here, but this is actually very good. How is it that they are going to return to the old path? Isaiah 52, verse 1 to 6. Can you get that? I do not have it up here, but
Zion, put on beautiful garments of holy city, for henceforth they come into thee the circumcision.
right, until 6.
Thyself from the dust arise and loose the Lord, ye have sold yourselves for none, being with you. But I said, God, my people, none of Syrian of other have I here said, over my people. I am
So the Levites, this is basically what is going to happen. They are going to behold Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is, there's not going to be any more strangers, and the uncircumcised is not going to come into Jerusalem. What is that? What kind of church is that? That's the church triumphant. The church triumphant. So, remember, the priests become church triumphant right here, right? So the Levites, they're gonna come. They have to go all to the old path. They're gonna look at the priest and go, "Ooh." They're gonna look at Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is a church triumphant now. So they are actually going to come out of truth and error. I mean, out of confusion and error, right? And join with the church triumphant, with the priests. Okay, right there at midnight, and they're going to be tested. Very fast testing time, because their binding time will be here. This is their binding time, right? Their binding time will be here. They'll be bound between here and here because their probation closes. Some of them will be bound here. Some of them will be bound here. This is progressive. It's a progressive binding. So the first Levite will start be bound here, and the last Levite will be bound here. And a Levite is an Israelite, right? They're going to come out of spiritual Israel and join into the church triumphant that is already made up by the priests. They're going to come out of here. So their 10 days is right here, between the midnight and the midnight cry. They're being tested. But they're going to be found 10 times smarter at the Sunday law, right? Okay, what about the Nethinims? When do the Nethinims come out? Remember? Ezra? No, don't. Only Ezra comes out at 9/11. Ezra waited for 3 days right here, and the Nethinims come out. They come out with the Levites. So how is it that the Nethinims they're going to start being plowed? Right? They're going to be plowed. In other words, they're being prepared. They're going to start studying the issue. And what is the issue? Something is going on, because at midnight here and the midnight cry, the priests are going to be lifted up. They're going to be separated. People are going to be able to see them. And the issue is going to start coming on the midnight cry. What is going to be the issue? Is the test, the mark of the beast test. Sunday laws are going to start right here. So the Nethinims are going to, they're being tested right here. They're going to see all of this, and they're going to start to prepare themselves. So their plowing is right here. They're going to be prepared. When is their test? When will their close of probation be? Oh no. The Nethinims, these are the Nethinims. The Nethinims are the 11th hour workers. Remember, they're called out, right, the Gentiles. They are going to start to have to figure out what is the issues going on. What is going on here? And they're going to make up their mind, and they're going to join. It's a progression. The last Nethinim is going to join at the end right here. It's a progressive. They're being bound off right here, right? So this is the priests, this is the Levites, and these are the Nethinims. But the Nethinims are being sowed right here. They're being prepared. Because every time before you're given a test, you have to be prepared. You have to prepare yourself. So the priests, they're starting to be tested here, but they're like Daniel was already being prepared by his mother even before he went into captivity, right? They're already being plowed right here. There's an increase of knowledge before, right? There's an increase in knowledge between 1989 and 9/11. There's an increase of knowledge. Daniel is being taught by his mother here. And then he went into captivity, right? Okay. All right. So they return to the old path. They have to return to the old path. They have to choose Sabbath. And their first test is they have to choose Sabbath, and they have to see the uplifted ensign of the priests and Levites, right? And then they're bound off. Okay. All right. And the rulers of the people dwelt at Jerusalem. So where did they dwell? Where did the Nethinims dwell? Because they work for the temple. So they can't be living out somewhere in the countryside. They have to live in Jerusalem. And the rulers of the people dwelt at Jerusalem, and the rest of the people also cast lots. So they all went back to Jerusalem, and they said, well, we all can't stay here. Some of us have to go back to Bethlehem. Some have to go back to the other cities, So who's going to go back to their cities? They had to cast lots to bring 1 of 10 to dwell in Jerusalem. So 9/10 have to dwell in their other cities, right? But those who 1/10 had to stay in Jerusalem, right? And the people blessed all the men that willingly offered themselves to dwell at Jerusalem, right? Because the rest of the 9/10, when they came out of Babylon, where did they go back to? Their old cities, right? No, they rather go back to their old cities where their old houses are, right? But then they said, okay, we have to cast lots. 1/10 of you have to stay in Jerusalem, because who's going to serve the city? And they blessed them. Okay, well, you're willing. I'm willing to stay in Jerusalem. I don't have to go back to it. They have to cast lots. Now these are the chief of the prince. So the chief of the province dwelt in Jerusalem, but in the cities of Judah dwelt everyone in his possession in their cities, to wit, Israel, the priests, Levites, and the Nethinims, and the children of Solomon's servants. But the Nethinims dwelt in Ophel, and Ziha and Gizpah were over the Nethinims. So the Nethinims stayed in Ophel. Okay. All right. Where is Ophel? Moreover, the Nethinims dwelt in Ophel, unto the place over against the water gate. So Ophel is near the water gate towards the east, and the tower that lieth out, near a tower. Okay? The Nethinims dwelt in Ophel, near the water gate. Why do they have to dwell near the water gate? Because they're the carriers of the water. They have to bring the water, right? They're the servants. They have to work. Okay. So Ophel is a ridge in Jerusalem, a tower or a small white cloud. It's a ridge in Jerusalem. Okay, where's Ophel? Right, this is the city of David, right? The Jerusalem is larger, but the original city of David is right here. Who did David get this city from? Who did he attack and conquer to get this city, Jill? Who did he attack and conquer to get this city? The Jebusites. Remember? The Jebusites. The Jebusites had this city, and their city, Jerusalem, became the city of David when he conquered it. How did he conquer it? Okay, we'll go over that, right? Yeah. So this is the old city, and Ophel is right there. Ophel is a section of it, right? And this is the Temple Mount. Up here is the Temple Mount. So Ophel is between, remember, is next to the gate, the water gate. Now, after this, he built a wall. Now, this is talking about Manasseh now. Remember, Manasseh is the son of Hezekiah, right? The son of Hezekiah. After he got taken out to Babylon, he was captured by the Assyrians, and the Assyrians took him to Babylon, and he repented, and he came back. So what did he do after he came back? He built a wall outside the city of David, without the city of David, on the west side of Gihon. Now this is Gihon right here. On the west side of it, he built, Gihon is right here, he built a wall, even to the entering at the fish gate, and encompassing about Ophel. So he built now Ophel here. Now, so Ophel is right here. He built this wall that encompassed the whole place, because he was already captured by the Assyrians. He didn't want to have it done twice. So he built a big wall now, and it encompassed Ophel, right? And he put captains of war in all the fenced cities of Judah, right? Okay. This is what Ophel looks right now. It's still being excavated. This is where the Nethinims used to live, right? Ophel is right here. This is the Temple Mount. They live between the Temple Mount and Gihon. Gihon is right here, because Gihon is the water gate, and there's a Gihon spring. There's a spring right there.
Remember now, the Jebusite shop, the water shop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's a spring right there. And their spring, because the Nethinims, they live right here. Their job is to bring the water from here up to the, right? So that's why they have to live right there, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a spring right there. There's another thing about that tower. That tower is very interesting. Why do they have to have a tower? Okay. So this is Ophel right here. Remember? That's the Temple Mount. This is Ophel. This is the city of David. The original city of David's down here. This is Ophel. Right? This is where the Nethinims lived. And here's the Gihon spring. And this is the Gihon spring even now. And it's still active. It's bringing water. So they had to bring this up. They actually have to bring water. Now the thing about it is, in those days, now this is like a mount, right? The city wall is like around here. Gihon Spring is outside because it's down in the valley, and what is higher up, right? When you build a wall, do you build a wall in the valley, or you build a wall on top of the, right? You build a wall because the wall is to prevent people from coming in. So you build a wall higher up, correct? All right. Now they built a wall from Gihon all the way to the fish gate. So when I was reading this, I had to read Nehemiah 3. And turns out that Nehemiah had to rebuild 10 walls of Jerusalem. The sheep gate, all right. The sheep gate, right here. The fish gate, that's the fish gate. Where's the fish gate? All right, there's a fish gate right there. right? The sheep gate, the fish gate, the old gate, there's the old gate, and the valley gate, there's the valley gate, the dung gate right here. The dung gate is where they take out their refuse and they burn it outside. So all their trash, they take it through the dung gate and they burn it outside here. That's the dung gate, right? And the gate of the fountain, here's the fountain gate. And the Nethinims dwelt in Ophel, right? Remember, they dwelt in Ophel. Ophel is right here. This is the area of Ophel. Dwelt in Ophel unto a place against the water gate. Here's the water gate. Remember, they rebuilt the fish, sheep. They didn't have to rebuild the water gate. So, for some reason, it was not destroyed. The water gate was not destroyed by the Babylonians, right? Yeah, so this is the spring of Gihon right there. And there's the water gate. And Ophel is right here. So they have to, right? This is where they lived, right? Okay. And then they repaired the horse gate. And then the east gate. Remember the east gate? And the gate of Mikphad. Oh, there's the horse gate, east gate. There's an east gate here, and then the gate of Mikphad, which is the judgment gate. When you look at all this, okay, sheep gate, fish gate, dung gate, water gate, horse gate, east gate, judgment gate, you know, that's prophetically significant. Because that's the history of, now, who's the sheep gate is the sheep. Who's the sheep? Jesus. Jesus is the sheep gate. The fish. Who's the fisher of men? That's the disciples. The dung gate, that's like the time of when they became slaves in the wilderness. The fountain gate, that's when they're restored. And there's the water gate, that's when the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. The horse gate, what is the horse gate? That's when the angry horse is let loose on the, just before, after the Sunday law. Right. And all the four winds are let loose like an angry horse. There's the horse gate. And then there's east gate. Then there's the east gate. What's the east gate? Who comes in through the east gate? Jesus. So that's when Jesus comes back. And then there's the last one is the judgment gate. That's the 1,000 years when they have to be judged. So that's the history of Jesus from the beginning till Jesus comes in and again. All those gates. The 10 gates. Right. Wow. Yeah. And you read this and you read the story and the explanation. There's a lot of explanation on the internet. But they all got the horse gate wrong. Because they don't know about the east wind. Right. The judgment gate. The Mikphad is the judgment gate. And they said that the gate that Jesus entered before he had to go to his before he had to go to Pontius Pilate. That's what they said. But all these gates are actually prophetically significant, right? Okay. So anyway, just for us to understand that what is written in the Bible has so many meanings, right? Now, how did David conquer the city of the Jebusites? How did he conquer it? 2 Samuel 5, verse 7 and 8. Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion. The same is the city of David. He took it. Who did he take it from? The Jebusites. And David said on that day, whosoever getteth up to the gutter and smiteth the Jebusites, and the lame and the blind that are hated of David's soul, he shall be chief and captain. And who did that? Joab. So Joab climbed up the gutter. There's a gutter that he climbed up, right? And the blind and the lame shall not come into the house. Oh, the blind and the lame. This becomes a church triumphant. But anyway, Joab is actually one of the cousins of David. He became his most trusted general. He's the one that climbed up a gutter. And the gutter is actually called sinur, or culvert, or a water spout. And that is here. Okay, here's the Gihon spring. This Gihon spring, now here's the Jebusite wall, right? This is the city up here. They have a wall here, right? But the problem is that the spring is outside the wall because it's down in the valley, correct? So how do they go and get their water? Right, they make a shaft. There's a shaft here that they make. Go down here, and then the water flows so that they, from the inside of the city, have access to this water right here. But the problem is that that's their weak point, right? So Joab, what he did was he climbed up this shaft and he surprised the Jebusites. He was inside the gate. He climbed up, and this is the Warren shaft. And you know what? We can actually go there. We can walk and walk to the Gihon spring and go climb the Warren shaft. And yeah, it's still Ophel. This is Ophel. Gihon spring is still just like the Bible, and it's still there. It's still there. And the Warren shaft is the shaft that's the gutter that Joab climbed, and he conquered the Jebusites.
So the gutter is not really filled with water.
It's basically like a well, so that they can bring up the water. But you know what? I think what happened is, it's like a water spout. So it's actually coming up. It bubbled out. Somehow. I'm not sure exactly what happened. But he was able to come up here and surprise them inside, because the wall is right here, right? Yeah. Okay. And you can still go there even now. They found out. And the rest of the acts of Hezekiah and all his might, and how he made a pool and a conduit and brought water into the city. The issue is that when you're now that David has that city, the problem is that Gihon is still outside the city. How is he going to protect that water supply when they are being sieged by enemies, right? So at the time of Hezekiah, remember Hezekiah? He was sieged by the Assyrians, right? Rabshakeh and Sennacherib, right? And he had to protect that water supply. So what did he do? Hezekiah, in the year 701 BC, 700 years before Christ, 701 BC, in all his might, and he made a pool and a conduit and brought water into the city. Are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of Kings of Judah? He made a tunnel. This same Hezekiah also stopped the upper course of Gihon. So he stopped up the upper course of Gihon, and he brought it straight down to the west side of the city of David. And Hezekiah prospered in all his works. All right. So what did he do? He made, right, this is the wall here. This is the later wall. But this is the wall. And the Gihon is right here. The spring is right here. So people had to come out to get to this wall, to get to this spring. So what he did was he dug a tunnel underneath. One group of men started digging this way, and another group of men started digging from here. And it's only a few degrees slanted, And they met exactly somewhere in the middle here. In the middle. And they put an inscription. This is what we did. And you can see the places where they had their axe picks, one going one way and one going, and they met right in the middle. It's kind of amazing. 700 years BC. And this, and it's not a straight line either. Look at this. It's going this way, and then they finally met. One from one side and the other from the other side. That's That's amazing. And it's still there. And that's it. This is the Hezekiah's tunnel. And you can still walk that tunnel even now. Right? That's amazing. That's right from the Bible. You can still go there and walk it. Okay. So here is our timeline, and here's the summary for our timeline. All right, the first angel's message: fear God, give glory, for your judgment is worship Him that create the heaven and the earth. Right. Second angel's message: Babylon is fallen. He that worship the beast and his image, right, will drink out of the cup of his iniquity. Right. So we know all of this. Daniel 1. Daniel is the first angel's message. Ezekiel is the second angel's message. Jeremiah is the third angel's message. But specifically, Daniel 1, the chapter 1, is the first angel's message. Chapter 1 is the first angel's message. And it is the summary of the experience of the priests, right? At 9/11, the leader was conquered. Who was conquered at the time of, who's the leader of the Israelites at the time of Daniel? Jehoiakim. The leader is conquered at 9/11, right? And the fourth generation was, why are they symbolized as the fourth generation? Because they're eunuchs. They cannot have any more descendants. Right? And how many were there? There's 4 of them. They're the fourth generation. They're the last generation. Daniel, Sadrach, Mesach, and Abednego. They're the fourth generation. The last generation starts at 9/11 and goes until the Sunday law. Remember? They're the fourth generation. Daniel, Sadrach, Mesach, and Abednego. Right. They live up at the hill. Their line is from here to here. But that is a summary of the Levites, whose line is from here to here. Which is it's a summary of the Nethinims, which line is from here to here, right? Right. So So the fourth generation starts right here. That's Daniel, Sadrach, Mesach, and Abednego, because they are eunuchs. And they have a name change, right? Their name change from Belteshazzar, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, right? When they have a name change, they enter into covenant right there. Because they have eaten the little book, they eat vegetable and drink water, and then they refuse the meat and drink of from the king's table of the Babylonian. All right? So they refuse. What do they refuse? Trinity, hermeneutics, and spiritual formation right here. And what do? They eat the little book. Proof text, the 2 charts, Father and Son, right? Right there. That's what we're studying. That's their food test, right? And it caused the fear. Because the people are going to look at them and go, oh, people are not going to like it. Right? Okay. And it's 10 days. That's the beginning of the 10 days. Right? They're 10 days, going to go until here. They're 10 days. That's when they're going to be proven. At the 10 days, they're going to be found to be fairer and fatter. Right? They're going to have the oil. As compared to the foolish virgins who do not have the oil, which are the other boys. Right? Okay. And they are going to be looked upon, and they're found to be fair. The 2 classes are going to be separated right there, right? The wise and the foolish at midnight, right? That's the end of the 10 days, which is the 3 days of waiting at Ahava of Ezra, right? Okay. And they will have understanding at the midnight cry. The fruits of the Spirit is going to be restored unto them. Now, at the end of their days, they're going to be tested by the king, right? The end of the 3 years. So this is the line of the Levites, right? Because that's the end of the days. That's the line of the Levites. That's the end of probation. and they are found to be 10 times. But the Levites are found to be 10 times smarter here. The priests are going to be found 10 times smarter here, because this is a summary of this. Right? So Daniel 1, is it present truth for us? It's absolutely present truth for us. Right? And what did we learn with studying Daniel 1? We learned about the Nethinims, right? Where they live in Ophel. Yeah. We can go there too, right? We go to Gihon Spring and we make sure we go there. Yeah. So the Nethinims are the helpers. Joab is the general of David.
And he smote the Jebusites.
That's right.
So the Jebusites,
They are the original inhabitants of Jerusalem. When David came, even at the time of David, it was not conquered because Jebusite was very strong. They could not conquer that city, even up until time of Joshua.
Little section.
Yeah, it's just a little section. Yeah, because they had that mount, and they had the Gihon Spring. Nobody can, and nobody. They had a water source, and they had that Warren shaft that they can get that water, even though they're. But the problem is that, right? Joab found out about that shaft, and he entered in and conquered them.
They dig a tunnel, come up to the well, whatever, and attack.
Yeah, they come up through the well. They went up that well.
How are they not?
That night.
Yeah. Well, it's outside the wall. They were attacking. The Jebusites are inside the wall.
Yeah.
So whatever they do outside, they can.
Where come to in Babylon?
Oh
It's
no.
not the same, but
It's the same principle.
yeah.
Principle. That's Euphrates. That's Babylon.
But that's how
The Medo Persia.
Yeah, but that's how they came to water. They left it.
And remember, this is on the east side too. Yeah, they come in from the east. The kings of the east will come in. Jesus is going to come in from the east. Mhm. And you know what is amazing too? When they want to get water for Jerusalem, is the water inside of Jerusalem? No. They had to go outside of Jerusalem to find the water. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, you have to go out of Jerusalem to get your water. Mm. Yeah, so they actually brought it all the way to the pool of Siloam. Yeah. They used to bring the water from the outside here. But obviously when you're being attacked, you cannot have the water. So you have to have an inside way of bringing the water to the pool. And that's how Hezekiah dug the tunnel, right? To bring it to the pool of Siloam. Right? It's amazing. So, yeah. They conquered. It was eventually conquered by Joab and David. All right. So now you know. What else did we learn from Daniel 1? That's basic. Yeah. There's so many things. That the main thing is that we realize that Daniel 1 is present truth for us. Right? And it's the first angel's message. Test of appetite. We've already been tested by the test of appetite. That's the first thing.
From the very beginning.
Even for us, we realize that if we didn't pass the first test, we wouldn't have continued. And those that have continued have passed it.
That's true.
Physically. Now it's a matter of it being spiritually, right? Okay. And that is the more sure word of prophecy.